Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show and Mr. Stelios on TV, Mr. Stelios on Spurs even. We're multi-streaming today. I hope everyone is happy and healthy doing the things that they love, for those who love to do them with. It's going to be an interesting show. The reason why we set it up late last night was because Stel sent me a message yesterday saying, Shawnee, I heard you calling me out on your show today. And so just so you know, I'm going to be doing exactly the same on my show tonight. And I said, absolutely, I would expect nothing less. I said, maybe we can meet in the middle tomorrow and chew things over regarding all things Tottenham. Obviously, right now, you know, there's a lot going on. We are going to be talking about the various managerial updates. All of a sudden, according to loads of transfer speculation or the specialists that are very, very imperfect at their predictions, we've got a man named Adolf Hutter. We've got a man named Roberto De Zerbi. And we've got a man named Marco Silva, who are all now apparently fighting over the chance to be Tottenham's manager. And it will be an interesting thing. Just quickly, anyone in the chat who is a regular in my show, but who has an issue with Stel, there's only a couple of people, I think. If I see you in there and I see you just being nasty for the sake of it, like, I will block you for the day. I'll kick you out, and then I'll unblock you later on, because obviously I know that, like, I'm sure there's people in Stel's channel that hate me and stuff, and it doesn't mean that they should be blocked permanently, because everyone to each their own. But just sort of let's steer clear of that stuff, because I want it to be fun and nice. Stel, how are you, my man? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Just doing what I do. I say it as I see it. Some people agree, some disagree, some are somewhere in the middle. I guess you're the same. But
sure.
It's getting more and more what's the word? Stupid at our club. We're entering a very silly phase. If we weren't in one already, and I think it's just going to get even worse, personally speaking.
Yeah, 100%. Before we start off, guys, talking about all things Tottenham, obviously ENIC out, protests, managerial changes, various takes. Who was, is it as simple as one solution saves us or not, or otherwise? I've got to ask you for the admin, guys. Smash the like button on the video, smash the subscribe on the channel. And if you are in Spurs Talk Show, then, as I say, this show is also available right now. It's live on Mr. Stelios on Spurs. If you go into the description and into the link, you can find, in the title, sorry, you can find Mr. Stelios' on Spurs' link. Please go over there, smash like, smash subscribe over there as well. Spend some time over there for the watch hours. Stelios on his way to getting monetized, and bounce around. I'll try and bring up as many comments as I can to make sure that whichever channel you're in, you're going to see as much of the conversation. Notification buttons should also be squeezed on every channel, and comments should be dropped. We're sponsored by OK Jersey over here. You know the score by now. 8% off at checkout using code Sean. We appreciate them. They do update their merch every single week with new things, new clobber, new sizes as well. I said to them, you guys have got to respect the fact that Western culture is different to the Asian culture. And we, you know, what is a 5XL to you lot is probably like a medium or a large. So get a few bigger sizes. If you are going to buy from them, I would advise going at least a size up, maybe 2. Big up to them. Big up to all of you. Stel, let's start with the protest, mate, because I didn't actually, not the protest, the parade, because I didn't turn up to the Spurs 5 until late. I was about an hour late for the show on Monday. So I didn't really hear your overall stance on it. I'm familiar with it, obviously, from the WhatsApp groups. I've also become aware this morning that you're suggesting now that there's a chance that maybe the players weren't in the bus, and it was all just one big giant bait and switch from Tottenham. Is that sincere, or were you joking? What's your take? Where do you stand on that?
I'm asking the question. Were the players on the bus? So, firstly, no videos or photos were taken by players on the bus showing themselves on the bus, or of themselves videoing or taking photos of the fans, which I find surprising, because our players are pretty quick to go on Instagram saying, love our fans, we're with you, we're trying hard. Nothing at all. Yeah. Secondly, nothing from the club, and the club don't need an excuse to pound the marketing, right? They went to great lengths to video Romero doing a pre-match video that we're always together. So Nothing from the club, nothing from the players. And then, you know, when Sky Sports start the show and you've got the panel in the studio and they start talking about the show and the team bus pulls up. And they always show a video of the team bus pulling up and the players getting off the bus, holding their man bags, their headphones on. They're walking into the stadium and there's fans saying, sign this, sign this. None of that either.
Yeah.
Were they on the bus? I'm asking the question. Has anyone got any evidence or did 20,000 people turn up to cheer on a bus driver?
Listen, to be entirely honest, right, I said this yesterday. I forget if it was on this channel or on, I think it was with Johnny on Football Inc. You know, because I said to Johnny, what did you think of the bus parade? And he said, well, it would have been nice if they used slightly less tinted windows so that we could have some interaction with the players. And I said, mate, can you imagine if we were cheering an empty bus and that Richarlison or whatever was seen later on driving out of the stadium, the south side entrance in his RS6 or whatever he's got, and everyone was like, "Wait, how have you got your car here? You came on a bus," and we were pissing ourselves laughing, but it was in jest, it was tongue in cheek. I mean, if there was any truth to that, I think it would be an absolute nightmare of a PR humiliation for Tottenham Hotspur, and the fans would then pivot to what you want, obviously, which is 1,000,000%. These ownership are doing things that are just like taking the piss out of the fans. So I can't believe they would do that. But you're like, I mean, and I think it's a weird question to ask because it's like I guess you would just assume that they wouldn't do it. But you're right. There is zero pictures of a player or video of a player on a bus where they can see out to the fans. I haven't seen any.
Sean, where's the video of the players getting off the bus with their man bags and the headphone? Where is that?
Yeah. I mean, those things would usually be put out before the game, right? So the argument that because we lost 3-0, there's none of that stuff comes out retrospectively. On Twitter, you generally see, if the game starts at 3 o'clock, you generally see at 2 p.m. the players walking through, like you see some sort of evidence of something, right? But there wasn't any. I think I don't think it's a conspiracy theory, Stel. I definitely know why you're doing it.
Just a question. It's a question.
No, I know.
You hold on. See, you started already. You can't wait. I see what you're doing, Stel. You discussed it on your channel.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I was tongue in cheek.
And I'm just asking the question: were the players on the bus?
Fine. I know. Would you? Let me ask this. Would you love it if that was the case? Let me ask you this: would you love it if that was the case? If they did bait and switch the entire fan base?
I would love the content it would give me. My God, that's a 3-hour show for me, just on the team bus, right? And so would you, and so would Sava, and so would fucking everyone else, right?
Of course, yeah.
Listen, if it's somehow proven, which God knows how you prove it, but if it's proven they weren't on the bus, then where does that leave those 20,000 fans that cheered on a bus driver?
Of course, that's right. That's the question. Would you love it? Because all of those 20,000 people would say, "What the fuck is that?"
Mad.
It's an absolute disgrace. Well, what's the benefit? What's the benefit? Let me ask you this. What's the benefit of the club saying, let's just throw an empty bus down there with maybe a media person on? Why would they do that? What's the upside to doing it?
I personally believed that the parade would put additional pressure on the players. I didn't think of this as a way of we're behind you, we're behind you. They buckle under pressure. These and again, I spoke about it all week when you, Lubo, and Johnny predicted we'd beat Forest. I was the only one who predicted we wouldn't win. I never predicted we'd lose, but I knew we weren't going to win it because of the pressure. And I was very adamant about the Liverpool performance and the Atletico second leg. I said, guys, no pressure. I was one of those fans that was on that side of the fence. So I felt that parade put additional pressure on a group of players that already feel challenged by what's going on. And the only reason they would do it is just to take some pressure off of the players who can't handle it. They can't handle this.
But you know that the players, you couldn't get to the stadium without being spotted, right? You couldn't. If you're driving yourself, your cars are going to get spotted on the way in or the way out. Ubers, someone would leak it. An Uber driver would leak it. There would be and it would just be an unbelievable own goal. Like to me, as much as you're right, and as much as there's no actual evidence of a player in the facing shot, I do think it's a bit of a silly notion because it's just an unnecessary. I think Scott M just said it right. An unbelievable own goal that's entirely unnecessary. The upside of it, I think, what you've just presented
you
is.
mean like the own goal of Romero doing a pre-match video saying always in it together, then losing 3-0. I mean that video is cringe now. It's absolutely cringy.
Yeah,
so
but sure, but what,
own
but
goals, own goals are nothing new
game,
at Tottenham.
But you can always lose a game, right?
You can always lose a game, yeah. But it's still an own goal.
I'm sure Arsenal put out some sort of like pre-match pump-up video for their fans regarding the final, and then they go and lose comfortably 2-0 to Manchester City. Like if you like, you do things in the before the game, you never know what the future is going to bring. So like to kind of, I don't know. For me, like moving away from the kind of the conspiracy
Sean,
of whether they were there or they weren't.
Question, Sean, why have no videos or images been shown of anyone on the bus or anyone on the bus videoing or photographing those off the bus? Because I saw one video today. One video was sent to me, and they said that's Jed Spence. I said I can't see Jed Spence. Like, yeah, but he's holding the camera. I said, who told you that? How do you know? How do you know that's not a Spurs media member on the bus? You know, it's just a random video off the bus. So I'm just look.
Okay. Let me ask this: Is it?
They probably were on the bus. They probably were on the bus, but there's no evidence for it. That's the point, isn't it?
I know, but on the balance of probabilities, right? Like, there's no evidence. There's not necessarily like the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence, I guess is the phrase, right? Like I don't think on the balance of probabilities that the win-loss ratio is just like the PR nightmare. Like it would be absolutely catastrophic for them to be outed as doing something as ridiculous as that. There's no upside. I mean, the upside that you presented, which is like the additional pressure of the players going through it. At the end of the day, the players are going to feel that pressure anyway because it's going to like the event took place. So those players, whether they're there to actually see it or otherwise, if there is that additional pressure, I would see it as not pressure but support personally. But like either way, that's still going to be there, however you want to see it. So the upside to doing something as like shenanigan and like completely off the Richter madness, insanity as the players not being on the bus, there is no upside. There's absolutely no upside. There's only downside to it being outed. And so just because there's no evidence.
There is upside.
What's the upside?
There's no protests.
No, but no, I'm saying, but the players not being on the bus versus being on the bus. There's no upside for them not to be on the bus, is there?
It's the pressure thing. It puts them under pressure. They don't.
The pressure is going to be there anyway because the event took place, right? The event took place. So if there's additional pressure from that event happening, it's going to be there regardless of whether the players were on the bus or not. So to me, I'm just pressure. Like the balance of probabilities would be like I would be absolutely astonished, like to the point where for me it's like less than a 1% chance that those players weren't on the bus. I think it's a wild take.
When
you're right, there's no evidence that they were on the bus, but that doesn't mean that they weren't on the bus because there's no evidence that they were.
Correct. There's no evidence that they weren't on. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree.
As far as the actual parade itself goes, I think I've sort of generally got familiar with your take on it. You and I got a lot of people after the fact, because we lost the game, turned around and have sort of like decided that it was embarrassing, ridiculous, like just an absolute joke.
That before the game, Sean. I said that before the game. I said before the protest. Connor came on the show that we both do on a Monday. Connor came on that show and I argued with him about it, about being part of it and Change for Tottenham not protesting. I argued it Monday, 6 days before I argued it. So it wasn't, I'm only saying it because we lost. I said it 6 days before. I didn't know what the result was.
No, I know you. I know. Yeah, I know you always stay with your position. So I respect that about you. But I think a lot of people wait until after the event to then Monday morning quarterback and say, well, it didn't work, therefore it was a failure. But I think to a lot of people, like I really enjoyed my day. I had a fantastic day. I had a fantastic night. Yeah. The only part of the day I didn't enjoy was the second half or from the 43rd minute until the 90th. That was shit. The before part was absolutely fantastic. It did feel like a party atmosphere with all the guys. You know, like I really enjoyed it personally. I had a great time in the sun, and I think a lot of people did. And I think that there's suggestions. I think from some people that it's going to happen again. Now I'm not sure it should happen again. Personally, I think that we tried and it didn't have the intended impact. But look, there's a way that I don't know if we'll talk about that in a second, but in terms of just like your general perspective on the idea of trying to support the team, I know you personally have your own sort of mission, your modus operandi, which is, you know, for you, the biggest thing that can support this football club is the ownership leaving, and therefore you're 100% driven behind that narrative, and anything that will support that narrative, such as protesting, that would have a better desired impact. So I hear you on that perspective, but take yourself away from it for a second. Take your Stel hat off and the ENIC out hat off. Can you at least get on board for the people who aren't necessarily as two-footed into the ENIC out thing as you are? Can you at least appreciate that there is like the value proposition on paper of getting 20,000 fans together to let them know that we're behind them? Can you see, like, regardless of what happened on the pitch, you can't see any positive to doing that?
No, because it didn't work. It failed. We lost 3-0. And then what happens is you get fans like Johnny, and I don't know if you said it, who will say, and it's not just Johnny, there's many that will say, oh, they're only saying that because we lost. Yeah, but had we won, Johnny would have claimed the victory because of the parade. He would have said, yeah, but because of our parade, we won. So it works both ways. We can only go by the facts. The facts are 20,000 fans cheered on a bus and we lost 3-0. So it catastrophically failed. There was no impact on those group of players. The fans lining up the streets had no impact on the performance of our players. As soon as adversity hit and we went 1-0 down, we capitulated at a management level, at a player level, everything fell apart as soon as adversity came. So I assume the thinking behind cheering on the players is, we're behind you. We know it's tough. When the going gets tough, we're in it together. Well, clearly that didn't work, because when the going got tough, not only did we capitulate, the same fans walked out the stadium, whether it was at 2-0 or 3-0. And for many of the fans who stayed at the end, they then booed the team. So what happened to this always in it forever together? That's a complete misleading comment to be putting out there, because you can't cheer the players when they arrive, then boo them when they leave and say we're in it together forever. Sean, none of this makes sense to me. There's no consistency in the messaging and in the behavior that's linked to the messaging. I understand fans wanting to get behind a positive energy, which is, I guess, what the parade was meant to do. I get fans wanting to get behind a positive energy, but that had zero impact on the game. So what was the point?
That's not the fans' fault, though, is it? The fans did their part, right? The fans pulled their weight.
It's the fans' fault that they collaborated with ENIC, the same group that they've got a problem with, because it was ENIC that said, right, if we assume the players were on the bus. Well, no, what I'm saying is, was that question?
You said that the fans collaborated with ENIC, who they have a problem with. Who has a problem with ENIC?
The fan groups that got together to arrange this event, they collaborated with the club. Can you please not let the players come by car? Can you please arrange for a team bus to come? Can you gate off the road? Let's work together. Yeah. So you've just collaborated with the same people that are destroying the football club. Yet you don't want to get 20,000. But Sean, but they don't want to collaborate. But those same fan groups don't want to come together to fight against the ownership. That's the bit I can't swallow.
Because maybe not every fan group has the same sentiment as you do.
But THST write emails and letters every year calling out the board, demanding this, demanding that. Song Sheets, he attended one of the protests. All the fan groups now, and the Spurs journalists, and pretty much every channel, is directly focusing the blame at ENIC. So if everyone now collectively, majority, agrees that ENIC are the problem, why are you collaborating with the people that you're against? That's the bit that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, but so it's two questions on that, right? How long have the majority, and again, we assume it's the majority, okay, but I've always pushed back on this, because if 5 different supporters groups, or essentially Twitter handles, right? I don't know how big Shelfside Spurs and Change for Tottenham's Twitter handle and OS17, the young guys, whatever. I don't know how big their reach is, but just because they're the groups, but those groups you mentioned are the ones that came together to arrange the parade. Sure, they won't come together to arrange action against ENIC. No, but the people that are the staunchest versions of, I don't know if I don't know if Shelfside Spurs. I mean, Shelfside Spurs is someone that has been a fan group to try to get support in the stadium, right? So, like his theme has always been to try to recreate the White Hart Lane buzz within the stadium. So trying to get
he also puts out tweets against ENIC.
Sure, I don't follow him, so I don't know.
They all do, Sean.
That's fine.
They all do but this season more than ever.
Right, that's the second part I was going to come to. But his MO was, generally speaking, to try to create a better atmosphere. Spurs song sheet, his MO has been to try to create a better atmosphere in the football club. I do remember that he last season or at the start of this season or something, I remember he like fell out with Tottenham or whatever and decided he wasn't being a part of it, and then he sort of went ENIC out for a period. I think it was under Ange actually. Now I think, come to think of it, but obviously he's been won back over and he's gone back on board, and he probably gets paid. I don't know. I'd assume he gets paid something to do the concerts inside the South Stand. I don't know though, but. Like, so there's obviously, first of all, there's vested interest probably at play. Second of all, the MOs of those people and the followings that they have are built around positive energy. Like, people that follow Spurs song sheets, you've never heard that guy, whatever his name is it James something? You've never heard that guy sing an ENIC out song. He turns pop songs into Tottenham songs by changing the lyric, right? But the people that follow him probably appreciate the atmosphere in which he tries to create, which is a positive thing. Same with Spurs song sheet. Change for Tottenham's a little bit different. We'll talk about them in a second. But an OS 17, I mean, I don't know if they're politically. I met one of the guys, the singer. Forget his name. I met him after the game. He's like a nice kid. I know those guys are always banging on the kind of the metal railings in the South Stand entrance, doing their thing before the game, singing their songs, right?
Yeah,
sure, but you don't hear them singing ENIC out, right? You hear them singing Deli Ali. We got Ali. So these guys, as far as my experience with them, they're not about the same thing that you are about. They are about trying to motivate atmosphere within the stadium generally. So you can understand why it is that they would get
but they all moan. Yes. But when we lose and when we sink into a relegation battle, they all moan and complain about ENIC online. They then say, who signed this player? Why is Lange still at the club? Why is Vinay here? This board. There's two sides to them. There's the one, the positive sing-along atmosphere.
They're human.
And then there's the one where they're fed up with the way the club's run.
Sure.
Just by the way, people in the chat saying that my chat is disabled. It's not disabled. Sean is streaming it onto my platform. I have no control over activating the chat. So you can only chat here from what I understand.
Oh, really?
So it's not.
No, it should be. It's not, both of them should be there.
No, I went onto my channel and it's blocked out. There's nothing I can do. Maybe because I'm not monetized. I don't know, but it's not me that's disabled it. It's just the way it is. You can still chat here though. Just chat on Sean's platform instead.
If you go into your YouTube studio, make sure go into the settings on the show, customize it, and then make sure that your live chat is switched on. It might not be switched on. Yeah, it should be open.
No, I can't. It's all blacked out. It doesn't let me change it.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, it doesn't let me.
Sorry about that.
It's not a big deal. I'm just letting the people in the chat know. If you want to chat, just chat through Sean's.
Okay. Well, either way, there's nearly 900 people watching us. I don't know what the distribution is, but if you are watching this on Spurs Talk Show, it's all love in the Tottenham community. So make sure you get over. The link is in the title. Just click the link and make sure you spend some time over there. Get his watch hours up, and also smash the like, smash subscribe for Stel. It needs to be up at 10K very, very quickly because he's a big part of the voice on YouTube. So, but sorry, Stel, but can you understand my point that in regards, yes, they're human beings. Yes, they are, but they're going to have fluctuating or differing stances. But generally speaking, the MO of the Shelfside Spurs fan following is that the people that follow him, I don't know if he goes on, I've got no idea who the guy is. So I don't know if he goes on YouTube or on podcasts or whatever else. But generally speaking, his whole reason for starting that Twitter handle was to try to create a better atmosphere within the stadium. So there's a reason why whoever the organizers of this were, they included him in it because his following.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that. Hold on. I'm not against that. When I go to games, which is hardly ever now, I want a good atmosphere. I want to see flags. I want to see drumming and guitars and people bouncing up and down. I want that. My point is this. The energy that's given to that, not even close to the same energy is given towards challenging this ownership.
Sure.
Yet, from my opinion, and tell me I'm wrong, the majority of fans now point the finger of blame at the board. And yet,
at the moment, they do 100%. Yeah. Well, sorry, hang on, let me actually clarify that. I would assume, going by what I experience on YouTube, that is the case. I not just on this channel, on your channel, on Spurs 5, on Sava's. Big up to Sava for the raid, by the way. I forgot to say it, Sav. Appreciate you as always, mate. I don't watch We Are Tottenham TV very much anymore, but I'm sure it's the same over there. I'm sure it's the same. I don't know if it's the same on Last Word on Spurs, probably. I don't know if it's the same on Chris Cowlin. Don't know if it's the same on the other bigger channels as well. I don't know, right? But I would assume, my experience, that yes, the vast majority of people want a change of ownership. However, I've always felt that's the case still. I've always felt that's the case since I've been here. Since I've been doing this for 4 years, I've always felt like the majority of the online space they generally lean towards ENIC out. But that doesn't translate to the real world. And we've tried to chew over and figure out why that is several times, haven't we, together, you know, on Spurs 5 and elsewhere. But it doesn't seem to translate. So I don't necessarily think that the platforms in which we engage with Tottenham fans, like Twitter is a toxic cesspit anyway, so it always leans negative. There is no positivity on anything on Twitter.
Do you think your viewers, the ones that subscribe to you, do you think they're a fair reflection of the match day going fans?
Well, look, when I bump into people who know me at Tottenham, and I don't know who these people are, but when they come up to me, I met a guy called Drew Badenoch, for example, who was over from Australia. He come up to me. He's very, very frequents everyone's channel. You know, those people generally, when I ask them what they think about ENIC, I think increasingly they are frustrated more so now than ever, and it's understandable why. But I deliberately used to do walkthroughs. I deliberately used to do uninterrupted walkthroughs through the stadium or around outside the ground so that I wouldn't be accused of cherry picking the data to fit the narrative that I was always accused of being an ENIC sympathizer, which we're going to come to later on in our discussion. But so I would always just go for a walk, right? A 20-minute walk, and just ask random people. And generally speaking, there was people of the, say, let's say 100 people that I asked over 7 or 8 videos, I would say 15% were ENIC out. I would say 85% were either indifferent or would appreciate certain parts of the game, and they certainly weren't like you. They certainly weren't.
Yeah, but that's not my question, Sean. Hold on, that's not my question. My question was: do you think that the people that subscribe to your channel, the audience, do you think they are a fair representation of the match-going fan? I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on that
to some degree, but not necessarily. I think people are volatile. In the summer, I remember putting out the ENIC out poll, right? Just super quick. Around the time that the Eze deal fucked up, and the time when the Xabi Simons deal got signed, and the time when we signed Polinia, and it was like within the space of 5 days, I put the poll up every day, and the swing of ENIC in to ENIC out was violent. It was madness based on basically transfer speculation.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So I think people are volatile with their opinions 100%.
All right. Let's go with yes. Your audience is a fair-ish reflection of the matchday fan. Fair-ish. Right. Mm-hmm. Let's run a poll right now.
Okay.
It's just one question. Just one question.
Sure.
Is the majority of blame, or all of the blame, whatever you want to word it, on ENIC? Or do you blame ENIC for the mess Tottenham's in? Yes or no? Just keep it simple. Or maybe you're not sure. Put not sure, right?
Okay. Do you blame ENIC for Tottenham's situation? Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Just yes or no. Fuck it. Polarize it.
Yeah. Yes or no. On yes, no, not sure, whatever you want.
No, I'll just keep it yes, no, because I think a lot of people lean into the not sure or lean into the temperate. Like if you give too many options, so yeah, we'll find out where that goes with it, right? Go.
Now, if that ends up being significantly yes, then my next question would be, why do you choose to do nothing about that? That would be my next question, because this is where I'm at with it. Change the manager, change the players, bring in De Zerbi, bring in whatever this guy is, Rahul, whatever his name is, bring whoever you want in. Change the academy director, right? Nothing is going to change. Whether you want to do a pre-match bus parade, right? Boo the players at the end, whatever you want. Nothing changes until either ENIC go or these fan groups that unite to arrange a pre-match gathering unite with the journalists who are now slamming ENIC. Everyone unites and says, we must take action against the owners. If that doesn't happen, Sean, nothing's changing. And I don't mind doing shows every week. What do you think of De Zerbi? What do you think about the tactics? Was it right to play Van der Ven at left back? I'm happy to do that every single week. But every single week, we're going to either be mid-table in a relegation fight, or if we're lucky, maybe one day we get top 4 again. But that will last a year or 2 max.
Let me ask you this, right? Let me ask you this. You've been ENIC out as long as I've known you. And I'm sure you were ENIC out before I knew you, right? I joined the community.
No, I wasn't. I was ENIC out. After we stopped buying players for Poch, that's when I became really conscious of it. And then when we fired Poch, that was my breaking point. I was dead against that, and I thought, right, if you're not going to back Poch, what the hell are we doing here? And that So
longer than I've known you, right? Because I joined the community in as soon as Conte arrived, essentially around December.
Longer than I've known you. Yeah. Fair enough.
So you were ENIC out then, and in the years preceding. If you weren't ENIC out then, right? I know a lot of people were, but in the Poch years, we finished second, we finished third twice, we finished fourth a lot of times from Harry Redknapp forward, basically, right? And then after Poch, we finished fifth, we finished fourth, sorry, with Conte. We finished 8th in the second season when he left around this time. But had we obviously we don't know how the season would have finished, but had the Conte meltdown not happened, we'd won that game. Had that Pape Sarr penalty not been given in the last minute against Southampton, we would have won that game 3-2. We would have sat 3rd in the table that year. Conte goes on a meltdown. We go through our variety of changes, Ryan Mason, Stellini, etc. We end up finishing 8th. Following season, we finished 5th under Ange, and then obviously. Last season, it fell off a cliff, right? 17th, and now this season, it's looking horrendous. Would you accept that whilst you might have had the reasons to see where we were going, and I understand you feel that way, but at the time, protesting against an ownership when we were finishing 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th, but we would have been 3rd had it not been for the Conte meltdown, had it not that penalty not happened, different timeline of events, then 5th, that though, like for a lot of fans that are just match-going fans and that sort of dial into Tottenham on a Friday, dial out on a Sunday after the game, whatever, then go back to their usual work. To see an ENIC out protest when you're finishing essentially Champions League spots, the expectations versus the reality for people that were ENIC out at that stage, which literally lasted until 2 years ago, that it was too early to be so pessimistic on an ownership. For maybe not for you, because you're saying that you had the prescience, right, to see what was going, but for the average fan,
it was confirmed. It was confirmed. I hear you. Under Conte, it was confirmed though. What happened when Redknapp came to this club? We finished Champions League for the first time. That was massive progression, and that was under ENIC and Levy. That was huge progression. Champions League football, and we had top players: Van der Vaart, Bale, Modric. We had quality. Then when Poch came,
they weren't quality when they came. Van der Vaart, apart from Van der Vaart, though, they weren't. We've never signed like top players. We've developed good players. We developed good players into great players, but we haven't really signed amazing players.
We scouted gems that needed refining. Okay,
sure, yeah.
We had good managers that could do it. When we went to the next level. We should have and could have won everything, but unfortunately. When it came to the most important point of the Pochettino project, for whatever reason, we stopped signing players and we started selling our better players, Moussa Dembele, for example. And we didn't, and we stopped replacing them.
Sure. I agree.
And then in my head, I said, why have we stopped backing Poch? This is criminal. We're never going to see a team this good again with the likes of Kane and Son and Dele. These were magical players in their prime.
But do you also acknowledge that the timing? I've always made the argument, mate, sorry, sorry, mate, I'm interrupting you. Go on, finish your point. Sorry.
I know what you're going to say, because the stadium build and whatnot. But Daniel Levy said, we've learned from previous stadium builds how it can impact transfers. So we are going to ring fence the money to protect us going through the same pain. But that's not what happened, because we stopped buying players for like 2 years. Now, when
he said that before the final cost of the stadium was announced, and also just quickly, there were other things, other global events that took place that also threw spanners into the works. Right? You can say one thing. I'm not defending Daniel Levy on this one.
Sean, let's factor that in. Fair enough. Let's say the club actually had really good reasons to not back Poch for 2 years. Right? I'm going to go with you. Right? I'm going to let you have that.
Okay.
Once the stadium was built, I felt a massive shift in fan base and in this obsession with business and profit and money. And I thought, whoa, was this all building up to get that stadium and to change the complete facet of what we are?
Sure. And I think it's a fair question. It's a fair question to ask. And I think it's a fair assumption to make, 100%.
And I feel that's what it was for them. This is what it was all about. And the revenues they can build off the back of this now. And then the next 6 years that came, yes, we had Conte, but we gave him Longley, Danjuma, and this nonsense.
Yep.
And we did the same with Ange, and with Nuno, and with Mourinho, and with Frank. Even with Frank, I will say, when he was on his knees and this club was on the fucking brink, we went into a January transfer window and did what? Some 16-year-old, Sousa and Gallagher. And I thought, hold on a minute. So when I see all of that, Sean, yes, Conte could have got us third. But look at the players we gave him to do it.
No,
and that's the problem. And that all changed, Sean. This all changed towards the end of Poch, when the stadium was built and the fan base changed and the complete footballing operation changed. It's gone to absolute shit.
Sure.
And it's that is all on ENIC. And Sean, they're not going to fix this because it's all about the money now. It's all about the money now. That's what's happened.
I don't disagree, right? But we're sort of jumping ahead because the initial question was like, the question was, I guess, was like...
I'm explaining the Conte bit. I'm explaining to you why Conte, I was still ENIC out because we were still signing crap players for him.
I hear you.
That's why I'm still ENIC out.
I hear you. But I, for me, the argument that I was trying to sort of represent was coming to the conclusion, and you might have been prescient that he saw this coming a mile off, right? And that Harry Kane, we never had any succession. I mean, not like the problem for me was Harry Kane papered over a hell of a lot of cracks at Tottenham, but not just in the years after Pochettino, but during the years of Pochettino. We had a fantastic team of people, but again, we weren't buying superstars. We identified talent well with Paul Mitchell, and Pochettino then turned these players into, and there was also other things outside of football that outside of Tottenham's direct control that also facilitated and benefited Tottenham at the time during that sort of when we finished third in the 2-horse race thing. You know, we were the beneficiary of, as were Leicester, of the traditional big 4 or 5 other teams, most of them going through their own rebuilds. Liverpool, Arsenal, they were having struggles. Chelsea and City were going through their own thing as well at the time, and United indifferent. So there was other things that were factoring in. Now, I've always made the argument, I've said this since day one, that the worst thing that could have happened to Tottenham Hotspur was getting to the Champions League final and losing it at the time that we did, because it fundamentally reset expectations of the fan base generally around what sort of football club we are. Just when there was, first of all, a complete resource boom in the price of all of the materials that factored into the overspend in the stadium. And Daniel Levy said the things that he said before the stadium was built. He said the stadium is going to be this. It's going to be that. It's not going to have the impact that previous stadiums had, whatever. But you can say those things with the known information at the time. Then new information comes along. And unfortunately, there were massive, massive issues with regards to the cost of the stadium. I know people like Lubo will tell you, you know, it was 600 million overspend or whatever. And he thinks that was all because Daniel Levy wasn't happy with light bulb fittings or the floor needed to be changed. And I'm sure that factored into some of it. And I'm also sure that Daniel Levy doesn't deserve all of the credit for the stadium, because I'm sure that a lot of the spend was, there was like contracts and building suppliers taking things on. I'm sure all that shit happened. So I'm not sitting here saying that Daniel Levy should get all of the credit and none of the criticism, because there was an overspend. But a lot of the overspend was also factored in because of things that were outside of Tottenham's control or Daniel Levy's control, which were the cost increases in the price of supply and materials. Second after that, the biggest impact that people want to, like, that they don't want to talk about in the start of that decline, again, outside of Tottenham's control, COVID hit Tottenham more than it hit any other football club, because of the kind of the ability to sort of raise the revenues at the time when you had the peak debt, all of those things. But people sort of brush that stuff under the carpet because it doesn't suit the narrative.
We still spent crazy money, Sean. But we still spent crazy money.
Well, yeah, in the 5 years prior to us moving into White Hart Lane, our average to Tottenham Stadium, our average net spend was £13 million a year. In the 5 years since, or in the first 5 years after moving in, it was £113 million a year.
Yeah, but I gave you those factors. I said you can have that. You can have the cost overrun. You can have COVID. You can have it. But look what we've done once we overcame that. It's been a disgrace. And the fans have been asked to pay more and more each year for this.
I know, 100%, but that's why getting back to the initial point.
I saw this coming, Sean. I saw this coming.
I know you might have done, and fair play to you, but not everyone else did. And so the question I was asking was, when you were protesting, and when the 25 of your mates, when the Brian Daigles and all those guys, the Ryan Isaacs, and fair play to them all, they might have had prescience like you did, right? In that regard, you saw it coming, but they were protesting at a time when the average Tottenham fan was looking at the Champions League, looking at the new stadium, the shining light, looking at the promises that may or may not have ended up being broken, and also looking at the fact that we were sitting second, third, or fourth in the table, and we had Conte in charge and all those things, and thinking, why are these guys protesting? It's unreasonable to be saying that these guys are a cancer and a parasite when it wasn't that bad. Now, it's only fallen off a cliff in the last 2 years.
Sean, remember when I said to you that once the stadium was built, the fan base changed. The fan base changed because our fans, not all, but a significant amount, also were happy with transfer windows. People were making videos how Dan Juma scores 10 goals for the remainder of the season.
Content's got a content,
Longley makes... Bro, but this is what I'm saying.
That wasn't me, by the
way. Not you, but fans weren't saying that back in the day. Fans would say, what's this shit? Now, we could sign anybody. And we will make a video to say how he suits the system, how he
that's the thing, though, isn't it? That's the way the world. It's not just that's just not Tottenham. That's the way the world has changed, mate. Everyone wants to get the clicks. Everyone wants to get the views. Tottenham, as a big six club, I think we are the worst at this particular thing. I think we're the worst. We gaslight far too much. United fans. They sign players. They sign certain players. Like, is this the right thing? Are we sure about this? Don't get me wrong. They do it as well. But not to the levels that we do. Tottenham fans also do that as well, right? Like, you know, for example, Conor Gallagher. There were some Tottenham channels that were saying, me myself, I'll put my hands up, and I said, look, I don't think he's the profile of midfielder that we need, but I can understand if the thought process is there's not enough, not enough leaders on the pitch. Right, I rate the player generally. Don't rate the profile need. He's exactly the same. He's just a better version of what we already have. But I can understand the logic around.
Sean, you were saying get Lookman. You were saying get Lookman.
Yeah, I was saying
sign Lookman. Yeah. Right, that's what you were saying. This Conor Gallagher thing, you were just giving your opinion. You weren't all in on it. You were all in on Lookman. The Conor Gallagher thing, when we signed him, the majority of fans said, oh, he's got leadership skills. He's got Premier League experience. That's the leader we need. That's the enforcer we need.
Yeah, but there were a lot of other channels, like yourself. There were a lot of other channels that were saying, "What are we doing here? He's not what we need." There is a portfolio of different opinions at the Tottenham fan base as well. Right?
But Sean, the bigger platforms, the ones with the most clout and create the most noise, weren't doing that because it's not a good look to do that. Don't say that. Because that means you're not Tottenham till you die. Just back it, whatever we do. Whereas the smaller channels, the ones that have got a voice, but not an impactful voice, we say it, and we're labelled as the so-called toxic ones. I've been called toxic for 6 years. Bro, Sean, I've been called toxic. I don't make it about me, but the fans like me, those 25 people, the Ryan Isaacs, Brian Daigle, We were called toxic for 6 years. Still now we are. And look at the club.
Yeah, but like I say, for me, but that's the point I would make, right? I know that you and I had fucking had a massive, we clashed for 2-3 years, right? In the last year, we patched things up, but like I was getting
because you realised the problem that this ownership is, right?
No, not at all. Not at all, mate. Not at all. Listen, I've always, just to be entirely clear, this is what I always say, right? It's the same thing with the Matisse Tell story. People hear what they want to hear. I only ever defended Daniel Levy. Like I'm a natural contrarian for what it's worth. Right? You know, I'm a natural contrarian. I think it creates good content. I like to debate people. I like to challenge narratives. I like to question whether you think what you really think you think. And for me, had I arrived into this content space and heard everybody saying Daniel Levy is an absolute saint, he's brilliant, I would have gone, no, he isn't. These are the reasons why he's not as good as you think he is. Right?
I should have said that. I should have said that.
No, but all I was hearing, well, maybe, yeah, but all I was hearing at the time was that Daniel Levy is a cancer and a parasite, and he's the worst thing since sliced bread. And I'm looking at Tottenham going, how are you coming to that conclusion? And I'm hearing, well, here's the reason why. We wanted Bruno Fernandes, we got Gedson Fernandes, the Jack Grealish £5 million thing. And I'm, as a contrarian, I'm sitting there saying, but nobody else in world football paid the additional 5 million. So it wasn't just Daniel Levy that missed out on Grealish. Everybody else did too. Because we're Monday morning quarterbacking and seeing he becomes a £100 million player. I'm just the guy who sits there and says, if you're way over here thinking that it's black and white, it never is. There's always a shade of grey. But people,
Man United paid the extra 10 million for Bruno Fernandes. They did pay that.
Sure. Okay, again, just individuals. My point being that if someone
that's
is
why
over
they
here,
say that about Levy, though. That's why they say that about Levy.
But with Tottenham, it's in politics, right?
Where...
Yeah, but to the people that are ENIC out, give him credit for signing Mickey van der Ven. Do they give him credit for signing Gareth Bale? Do they give him credit for signing Luka Modric, for Van der Vaart, for Gino? Or not Gino, he was before it. But you know what I mean?
Because it means nothing. It means because it amounts to nothing in the end. Those signings, those one-off good moments, don't cover up. But they were good enough.
But they were good enough in collaboration, and when you conflate them all together for us to finish second, third, fourth, fifth, could have eighth, but could have been third.
Yeah, but what good is it signing Gareth Bale if you're going to put him next to Timo Tainio? Let's talk about that. Why is Timo Tainio playing next to Gareth Bale? That's what we don't talk about.
We're at the time, mate. We're like when Gareth Bale got us, when Gareth Bale single-handedly got us in the Champions League, and we went into the Inter Milan game. When we beat Inter Milan at our place, or AC Milan 1-0, and Crouchy puts the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. At the time, where Tottenham were at in the cycle, that was like a cup final, and I remember that night. I remember being in a club in London at some casino.
That's vibes. That's just vibes. That's a moment in time where we were. So because Gareth Bale scored 3 goals against Inter Milan, we got to praise Daniel Levy for that.
No, not at all. Only if the argument that is being extended is that everything that happens at the football club that is bad falls at Daniel Levy's feet, then by that logic and consistently, everything that is good at the football club or that has been good, everything good and bad falls at his feet. And it was you guys, the Levy out people, that were making the argument that everything that happened was Daniel Levy, because ultimately the buck stops at the top. So by extension of that, I was saying on that basis, if we're going to be balanced, I'm not just going to let someone remind me of the 25 things in 25 years that Daniel Levy has fucked up on without reminding you of the 25 things that he, if it's by extension his fault for everything, that he did well, because I look for balance. But like I say, had I walked into a community where everyone was waxing lyrical and just saying Daniel Levy's a legend because he signed Gareth Bale, because he signed Van der Vaart, because he got us third, I'd be saying, well, what about the fact that we haven't won a trophy in 17 years? Because I like balance, but if one person is just screaming, or one group of people are just screaming from the rooftops that everything is hell, in order to know hell, you have to know heaven.
You're talking about an era that I agreed with you, though. I said 10 minutes ago, up until Poch, I was on board with ENIC and Levy.
But I think it went beyond Poch, though, because you were protesting when Conte was finishing third, or nearly finishing third. You were protesting when Mourinho was in a... By the way, I agree with you about sacking Mourinho, and I 100% agree with you. Massive fuck up on Daniel Levy.
Because Conte wasn't... Because, Sean, look, let me repeat what I said earlier. Up until Poch being sacked, I was on board with ENIC. I was on board with Levy. When fans say... they've been ENIC out, Levy out for 25 years. I wasn't ENIC and Levy out for 25 years. I blame them for the whole 25 years. Now, I blame them for all of it, but I wasn't against them for 20 years. when that stadium was built, I repeat, the fan base changed and the direction
Well,
of
the
the board
demographic of the fan
changed.
base. Do you mean the demographic in the stadium, or do you mean the average person that just talks about us online?
The behavior changed. They became very accepting and way too tolerant of the ownership. It's almost like
What? Okay, so let's
there's
dig
a
into
fear.
that.
There's a
Why?
fear. There's a fear to challenge the ownership. That's what I'm saying.
Why?
Whereas in the past, they weren't scared to challenge Irvin Scholar. They weren't scared to challenge Sir Alan Sugar. Now they're scared to challenge ENIC, and I don't know why the fear's there.
Were they
scared?
Okay, so were they scared to challenge?
I think it's to do with image.
And...
I think it's to do with they're scared of what other people might think of them. I think it's down to image. I could be wrong.
Hang on, but
I don't know.
Because it's a strong statement to
make. Because you get called, Sean, because you're going to get called toxic like me. You're going to get.
But that's social media, right? That's social media rather than like Daniel Levy specifically. I'm sure that's exactly the same. Isn't that exactly
Sean,
the same thing in Arsenal?
Sean, I get it in the stadium, bro. I get it in the stadium. Whenever I stand, if I stand up and shout ENIC out, there's always people behind me that have a right go at me. Always.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Of the 24 other people. Of the 24 other people that were part of your ENIC out, I'm not again being facetious, but of the people that were always there, right? The Brian Daigles, the Phil Pease, the Graham, the Graham guy, the guy that travels up and down the country.
There's a bit more than 25, but yeah, go on.
Whatever, 100 people, whatever, right? Whatever. That group. I'm not being difficult. I'm just that group of people. How many of them were ENIC out longer than you were?
Half of them. Half.
Okay, and where did it go back to? Martin Yole time? Did it go back to before that? When did it go? When did it start for them?
Listen, I can't speak on their behalf because I don't know, but I think it was the Martin Yole thing.
Okay, so that was before the stadium. Were those people afraid of calling out the ownership then? Because you're making the assumption that the timeline for the fan base becoming scared of pushback. That started as the stadium was built. That doesn't necessarily correlate with, like, it doesn't make sense to me why a new stadium would change people's minds and how they behave as human beings.
You'd be crazy as a fan to go against the ownership if during Martin Jol, he got us back into Europe. There was an upward trend. When Redknapp took over from him, he got us into Champions League. There was an upward trend. When Poch took us over, Champions League every year, Champions League finals. There was an upward trend. So from Joel to Poch, you could see we were on the up. You could see it.
Yeah.
So
there were people in the ENIC out camp then, right? Just you weren't one of them, but there were people in that ENIC out camp that during that.
There was about 10. There was about 10 people.
Right.
10.
Right.
So what's the point of that? I don't understand.
No, I'm saying, but you're saying that the shift in, like, you're saying that human beings generally, because I'm asking you. You said things changed. Tottenham fans became pussies, essentially, when we moved into the new stadium. And I'm asking, what specifically are you referencing? Are you referencing the demographic of people that went to the stadium, i.e. wealthier people, more tourists, more people that are like prawn sandwich brigade, that don't have the same level of passion for Tottenham because there's some assumption that your wealth or your status
I think they've got the passion. No, they've got the passion. Sean, they've got the passion. It's not about passion. It's comfort. It's fear. Look, I'll give an example, right? I'll say it for what it is. Last night on Last Word on Spurs, very popular, big channel. Everyone watches it. A lot of people know Ricky Sachs. He's on Sky Sports, Talk Sport, right? He'll say that the owners are an issue. He'll say what he thinks. He'll attend the protests now, right? He had Martin Lipton, big journalist, big Spurs journalist, on his channel last night. Martin Lipton was slamming the board, slamming the owners, calling them out. He said, his words, if they walk past me in the street, I'd throw fruit and vegetables at them. I'd throw objects at them, right? Big words from a journalist to say that. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, there you go. Fair play.
Yep.
It's nice to hear that because we used to have Coke cans thrown at us protesting. So it's nice that maybe the objects are going to be thrown elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But why doesn't
Did you actually have a can of Coke thrown at you?
Yeah.
A full one or a... Really?
Closed, yeah.
Okay, no. Okay.
Yeah, one person threw a bottle. I think
that's shit behaviour. That's ridiculous.
Mate, one person had a Coke bottle, undid the lid, threw the bottle at the protesters, told us all to go fuck ourselves. And we're like, cheers, mate. I bet he's not doing that now, though. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Cool. Yeah.
So Martin Lipton's really put in this powerful anti-ENIC message. And he's really gone in. Why doesn't Ricky Sachs turn around and say, Martin, those are powerful words. I've never heard you speak like that. He did say, I've never heard you speak like that, by the way. But why not say, I've never heard you speak like that? I'm a bit thrown back. Wow. Can I ask you a question, Martin? Why do you not then feel that it's appropriate to maybe attend a protest or boycott? Or why do you not act on that anger you've got for the board? Why do you accept it, so to speak? Why isn't that asked to him? Why isn't another follow-up question? Why do you think
how do you know he wasn't at the protest?
I go to the protest. Martin Lipton. No journalist has ever protested with us. Never.
But the protest did get a lot of media attention. The big one that had about 3,000.
My point is the people that don't take action because I think it's out of fear or they're concerned about their image. Why aren't we asking them?
Possibly they're not allowed to, right? Possibly they're not allowed to if they're employed.
Why not? Why not though? There must be a fear there. There must be something that they're concerned of. Because you're happy to say
that's also human nature, right?
So it's okay to say I will throw fruit and vegetables at the board if they're walking down the high street, but it's not okay to ask that same person, why do you not choose to take action? You're not criticizing. You're asking a question. Why not even ask Martin?
Isn't that some equivalent? Like, what do you think's more powerful?
Sean, hold on, Sean. Why not ask Martin this question? Martin, some groups have tried to arrange protests. A regular on our show, Billy T, he's part of the group that tries to arrange it. Why do you think they can't get more than 100 people at the protest? Why do you think fans just aren't prepared to walk out? We've seen Liverpool do it. We've seen Man United. We've seen other clubs act against the board. Martin, in your professional opinion, why do you think Spurs fans don't choose to do that too? Those questions, Sean, are never asked to any of our major influencers on TalkSport, Sky Sports, the big platforms. So to me, when I say I think there's a fear or there's an image concern, I say it because I look at what's going on. What else can it be in your opinion then? Why aren't they asking those questions then? What could it possibly be in your view?
Well, why is it that the other podcast interviewers or whatever don't press back on the access to the major influencers that they have? I don't know.
You would ask those questions, wouldn't you? I would.
I would, yeah, because I certainly would, yeah, and I know you would as well, yeah. But that's maybe why these people don't come on our channel.
Because we don't fear it, right? Because
also maybe that's why no one ever comes on my channel that's of that sort of ilk, right? But maybe I invite people, but I mean I don't know.
This is the problem, Sean. This is the problem, bro. This is the problem we've got as a fan base. Yeah, right
but
now.
At the same time,
it's that fear. There's a fear that lies there.
But let me ask you this, right?
Yeah.
If there's 150 people that were at the protest, the last protest that we went to together before the West Ham game, right?
Shambolic.
150 people turn up.
Yeah.
If Martin Lipton's one of them, how many people know the name Martin Lipton because they read it in the Sun, but if they walk past him in the street, wouldn't know who he was?
Well,
the vast majority of people that know Martin Lipton, right, they know his name when they read an article, but they're not going to know. He's not going to be. Like, I doubt when he goes to, like, I don't know, Thurrock Lakeside that he's mobbed by people. Go, oh, Martin Lipton, can I get a selfie? I don't think.
No, but Ali Gold does. Ali Gold does. Ali Gold's been on last word on Spurs. He's never been questioned. Ali Gold, everyone knows who Ali Gold is. I'm just using Martin Lipton as this example.
But Martin Lipton said what you wanted to say. Like he spoke in front of, I guess, 15,000 people last night saying that? Yeah, I know of her. I don't know her. I know of her. Yeah.
Right, people know of her. People know of Sonny Talks Spurs. People know of Majestic MC because they're all Ben Bowman, Flav. They're all on Talk Sport. We know them because they're on mainstream media. Nobody challenges them or questions them on why they don't take action or why they think fans don't choose to take action. This conversation is the one that needs to be had in our fan base more than ever, Sean. If there's one conversation that needs to be had is, why do we accept this and not take action? Why are we in this position as a fan base? And no one's prepared to go there. You are. Saba will go there. I'll go there. There's a few of us that will go there, but the majority, the Spurs,
we're having this conversation now, right? And I would imagine, looking at the amount of people that are watching, that by tomorrow this will have been seen by over 10,000 people. Okay.
Hopefully, it opens up the dialogue. Hopefully,
this is not the first time we've had this conversation. It certainly isn't the first time that Spurs 5 have had the conversation that's seen by 12, 14, 15,000 people. Certainly isn't the first time that Sava's had it. And Sava's shows get as many views as mine, right? And like, to be entirely honest, like,
I've never asked this question, Sean. I've never asked this question. Why the Chris Cowlings and the whatnot? Why have they not asked these questions? Why have they not challenged on their views on this and their views on the fan base as a whole?
In what platform? Listen, Chris Cowling, I don't know. I've met Chris. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know his personal takes on. I don't know him well.
He doesn't protest.
Sure, but if I'm not mistaken, I think he's employed by the football club as the representative of the women's team. So much like the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, you have to, like there's a book out there called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I don't know if you've read it, but I've read it like 6 or 7 times. Unbelievable book, right? But like, there's no like, I think there's 15 chapters, 15 lessons of that book. Lesson 16 is maybe the missing chapter still that you would like to be in there, which is call people out, which is, like basically call people donuts for not seeing the world through the lens and expect them to come on board.
No, Sean, no. I'm asking a question, but I'm not calling them out. I want to ask Martin Lipton. Martin, if you feel this much anger towards the board that you are publicly saying you want to throw fruit and vegetables at them, you're a professional journalist. That's a startling statement,
but that would have been read. That would have been seen by 20,000 people. Isn't that more influence than the thing that you're advocating for, which is just another face to turn 150 people into 151 people? It's not like he's got a fucking bullhorn. It's not like if he's saying that thing on Last Word on Spurs, I don't read the Sun, but I would imagine that he's obviously going to have his take on the Sun as well. I think that what's the issue with him saying if he's willing to say that? Isn't that exactly what?
There's no issue with that. There's no issue with that. You're missing my point. Say it. But where's the question? If you feel that strongly about the ownership in that way, why do you not take action on that? Why do you think more fans don't take action on that? Why don't you think...
So your criticism isn't of Martin Lipton, your criticism's of Ricky Sachs.
And Martin. No, these aren't criticisms. I'm questioning. Words mean nothing. Action has got substance. And I want to know why they choose not to take action. Because I'm not... Sean, if you're someone that goes to the game, you don't say ENIC out, you don't blame the board, you just think it's the manager's fault, you think the players are all shit, and if we fix that, all will be good, happy days. Fine, do your thing. But when people are specifically now calling out the board, they're blaming ENIC, they're blaming Vinay, they're blaming Lange, why are they not being questioned on not taking action on that? That's what I'm saying.
And by action, you just mean the 20,000 people that you saw that were supporting the team. You would rather, if they were all chanting ENIC out, Daniel Levy's out of my club, ENIC next, whatever. Like if that's what you ultimately want, isn't it? You want to see 20,000 fans.
That's what we need. In my opinion, it's not what I want. In my opinion, that's what we need. Yes, I do. I think that's what we need.
Let me just go on. Finish your point. And now, before I want, because I do want to challenge you on that. Okay,
that's it.
Let me do the super chats. We've got another 45 minutes to go, guys. I've got loads more questions I want to ask Stel and push back on a few things. Let me get some super chats done. Appreciate everyone. Please don't forget, smash like, smash subscribe, all that stuff, notification bells. If you do enjoy this conversation, maybe Stel's got a point, right? That we're having this open dialogue. Maybe other bigger channels could and should as well. And maybe there should be some pushback.
They must have this conversation. They've got to stop living in fear and stop worrying what other people think of them. If you live in a world where you're constantly worried what others think, nothing will change. You'll never, ever solve the issues that we've got, in not just at Tottenham, in the world. Like, you need contrarian thinkers. Look, I don't want to say this because it comes across as if it's crazy, but you need disruptors in this world. It's disruptors that innovate new technologies. It's disruptors that change things in life. If we don't have disruptors that are prepared to challenge and stop living in fear, mate, Tottenham's finished. It's finished the way we're going.
I agree with that sentiment, but I think that's a stretch to suggest that standing on one side of the high road with a ENIC out banner is somehow a demonstration of like peak disruption. I don't think that's the case.
When it's 25 of you, when it's 25 of you, Sean, you're right. When it's 20,000 of you, mate, things begin to change.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. What evidence is there that there was 20,000 people outside Newcastle United for 15 years protesting against Mike Ashley? He didn't go anywhere. He just stopped going to the game. It didn't mean that his transfer strategy. In fact, if anything, he ran a tighter ship, took less risk, so that when he could finally get his answer and finally get his price paid, which by the way was a fraction, 1/10 of what anyone would have to buy to be able to pay for Tottenham if we're in the Premier League. Maybe that will change next season, but again, I don't particularly believe second.
Mike Ashley doesn't own a £3 billion asset. ENIC do.
No,
they've got more to lose from us boycotting and from us not spending money in the club shop.
You're not talking about boycotting. You're talking about protesting at the moment.
No, I'm talking. But the point is, protesting
it still took Mike Ashley 15 years to find someone willing to pay a tenth of the price.
The game has changed. We now have social media. The game has completely changed. The elements of disruption are far different now. The Mike Ashley era was the Mike Ashley era it was, and regardless of it taking 15 years, he still got out. We don't even try.
Only
Sean, we don't even try. Sean, we don't even try, bro. We don't even try.
Well, but again, okay, but that's the question I want to ask you. Why? If you're giving the credit to social media for being able to raise that, and I think you have to, given what you saw on Sunday, the fact that the social media, 4 or 5 people that have got Twitter handles, a guy on TikTok, who I'm on TikTok, so I don't know who that.
It's key now.
They're fine.
It's key.
Okay, but let's be entirely honest, Stel. Like there's been 2 narratives around why it is that the ENIC out protests don't translate towards people outside the stadium. Hang on a second. And one of those narratives was, well, people online feel a certain way, and there's a lot of overseas contingent that can't get to the protest, but they always say that they would be if they could be, but they're not, so they aren't. And the other narrative is that, well, maybe social media just doesn't translate to real life, and people that are at the stadium don't all look at Twitter, don't all look at YouTube, don't all look at TikTok.
I agree with you, Sean.
But obviously after Sunday, after Sunday, it's clear to see that people are. No, that's what that's the point, though, right? So you're making the assumption.
But that's the problem. That's the problem. This is why we're in this mess.
But maybe not everyone goes to the game for the same reasons you do. Maybe they just go there for a good time. And the idea of having like a parade.
I don't go to the games to protest, Sean. I don't go to the games to protest. I go to watch my team play football. But if my team's shit and my team's collapsing and my team is 6 games away from relegation, I'm going to fight against the people that have done this damage, who I said 6 years ago would do this to us. I've been saying this for 6 years. It's only now that you're seeing the consequences of the things I was against 6 years ago.
Right, but again,
now the fan base can see it. Now the fan base can see it, Sean.
But temporarily they can. Still, temporarily they can. This is the point. And look, I've got to do the super chats, but just temporarily they can because of the situation we're in. Okay, if there was a protest tomorrow, or if there was a game tomorrow, I would imagine that Tottenham Hotspur, like if it was specifically about about the ENIC out thing, I would imagine that you would have more people protesting than you did at the last one. I think you'd have more people, but I think you might have 250, 500. You'd have nothing like the 20,000 people that turned up, because I think there's a different mindset of people that go to the game. I was sat at the back. I was sat in this cubby hole just outside the bricklayers.
And that's the problem, bro. That's the problem.
You can't force. You can't force.
Why did 20,000 pounds? Why did 20,000 fans take to the streets? And when it was Alan Sugar and Sir Irving Scholar, why were we doing it then? Why not now?
Because we were close to bankruptcy.
Sean, you've said we're going to go bankrupt if we go down. You said we're going to go out of business if we get relegated.
I didn't say that. I never said that.
Well, you said we're going to take a big financial hit, right?
Oh, we will take a big financial hit. I didn't say we're going to get relegated. So I didn't say we're going to get bankrupt. No, I'm just saying that 20,000.
Sean, fans.
Let me do the super chat.
Let me reword the question. Do your super chats.
Let me do the super chats because they're building up, and we'll get back into it quickly. Big up to everyone. Don't forget, smash like, subscribe, notification buttons. Please also do get over to Stelios if you're watching on there's 1,000 people here. If you are on Spurs Talk Show, the link's in the title. I'll also publish it in the Here it is right now. Please make sure if you appreciate what Stel's cut, and he's making good arguments. He's making very good arguments. Then go over there and support him, where you can hear about this stuff every time he goes live. There's the link for Stel, right? So just click on that link and you go and smash the subscribe for him. Let's get these super chats done and we'll get straight back into it. Sanilla, big up to you, Sanilla32. Very cool of you, man. I love you to pieces, bro. He says, my two-faced Spurs content collaborators, as always, I appreciate your efforts. Now, I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying the debate. It's a strong debate, and this will be hopefully one of many to come. By the way, Spurs 5 on Thursday night. It's going to be the four of us. I think Johnny's back. Yeah, it is Johnny's final show before he goes away. And we've got a change. We've got a Spurs supporters trust guy called Roy coming on. There's going to be some challenging questions for him, and it's going to be exciting. So make sure you smash subscribe to Spurs 5 as well. Big up to you, Snil. I really appreciate you, mate. You're always so generous, buddy. And once again, thank you for the offer of the tickets, my man. Really appreciate you, bro. Really do. Sniffer, big up to you, Sniff, Newcastle fan. Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, chime in, Sniff. I know you don't even rate Eddie Howe right now, do you? But the Mike Ashley thing. Or didn't it? I don't know. Big up to you though, Sniff. Thank you very much. Choo to you, bro. Choo to you. Russ,
Sniffer, can you put a comment in the chat? Were your protests, your Newcastle fan protests, instrumental in getting Ashley out? Just interested to hear what you say.
Yeah. Big up to you, mate. Big up to you. Ulrika, Ratatata. How long until Sean does Stel AI versus Stel? No, I'm not going to do it today. This is a serious conversation. Maybe on the next one, but it's a bit more lighthearted. I'll bring in Stel. I have to change my because his hair is growing back so well. I'm going to have to change my my whole approach. It's a great mate. You should go and get yourself sponsored by that company because you're a walking talking advertisement, mate. It looks great. Does look great. Big up to you, Ulrika. Big up to you. Thank you very much. Bookie TV. Big up to you. Thank you so much. My two favorite Spurs tubers joining forces. I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. It's a good conversation. Big up to you, Bookie TV. Thank you very much. Bears Cave, my man from Woking, says protests would add more pressure on the players. That's an interesting.
Tell me how the parade helped the players. Tell me how the parade helped the players, please. Tell
maybe
me.
It didn't. Maybe it helped the fans have a good day. Maybe it helped. Maybe it was just for the fans. In fact, one of the guys, the OS17 lad, I forget the guy's name. Tommy, is it? The young guy who's like the leader of it. He said he put out a video saying. It didn't help the players, but this was for us. It was for us anyway, and maybe that's a spin to protect the reputation. I don't know, but
so the show up, sing up, stay up. It wasn't about that. It was just about us having This is my point. That's the point I made at the start of the show.
The guy's 19, mate. So probably
taking a bit of play. When you're 19, you just want to enjoy it. I get it. Fair play.
Yeah. Big up to Chudini. Thank you very much, mate. Choo to you, bro. Appreciate you, mate. Appreciate you so much. Love you, buddy. Hazed 1009 says, big up, Sean. Beer on me. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. I put that towards the Magnum. I've decided. I was told by Leroy it's Magnum, not Magnum. So it's I put it towards the Magnum fund. Big up to you, Hayes. Thank you very much indeed, my man. Craig Fenner. Big up to you, Craig. He says, I've been out since Poch was sacked, but he should not have talked about the Man United job or leaving if we won the Champions League. Not backing Jose really killed it. Yeah, I think a lot of people also, I appreciate you saying that, Craig, because I do think a lot of people seem to forget what was going on with the whole Poch situation as we came to that conclusion of his time. Like in the Champions League final pre-match presser, he was talking about what can I do after this? I'm going to leave. He was linked to the Argentina job. And the following season, I remember the Bayern Munich game when we got smashed 7-2 or whatever it was. I remember he was making substitutes that were just so bonkers. I said to my dad in the stand, I was like, he's begging for the sack. I think a lot of people forget that, that little period because, that's the kind of minutiae and the bigger picture is more memorable. But I actually think that Pochettino had run out of steam and got a little bit stale with his ideas at that time. And maybe he was after the sack. I don't know. Big up to you, though. And as far as the Mourinho thing goes, just for what it's worth, whilst I'll debate people on the specifics, individuals of Daniel Levy's micro decision-making, sacking Mourinho 4 days before a cup final was absolutely a shockingly poor decision. Shockingly poor. And we've never heard from Mourinho as to what his version of the truth was on that one. So it'd be nice if he ever did speak out about it. Hayes also says, can we please accept with all of our injured players, we would not be in this position? Yeah, I think that's true as well. But I agree. I definitely agree. But I also, that for me, I don't think that means that the club haven't completely failed in their transfer strategy over the last 2 or 3 years. I concur with Stel. At the start of the downfall was the Dembele sale for 11 million quid to China in that January. Had he still been here, we might have won the Champions League, because him versus Harry Winks or whatever it was. You know, go on, Stel. You can see you want to say something.
My response to that is, if you know and you acknowledge, as you said in your super chat, that we've got all these injuries, and you knew that for some time, why did you not go into that January transfer window and do better business?
Yeah, 100%.
If you knew what you said. So again, we can blame injuries. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that.
But you have to react. You have to react to the way the dice. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to react.
Let me ask you this, right? Do you think, because I'm no fans of the new look ENIC, right? I was just, for what it's worth, again, categorically, just be entirely clear, you will never be able to find a comment from me where I say that ENIC are brilliant. All I ever did was I defended Daniel Levy against what I perceived to be unfair, 100% black and white criticism. For sure, though, I probably gave the ownership more rope than like yourself, still, but 100%. I'll own that. I'll accept that. And I also heard you say last night about the PSR thing, which we're going to come to in the next section, and I'll own that as well. Like I obviously got that one wrong. I thought that you could rely on the ownership, that you could rely on the footballing gods, the rule makers, to actually create some coherent rules. For what it's worth, it did affect Everton. It did affect Nottingham Forest. It has affected Leicester in a horrible way. And it's affecting Aston Villa, but for what it hasn't affected Chelsea, because they've got smarter minds that can manipulate the rules to their own ends. And the same with Manchester City. So there's some element of truth to it, and some element of
and Arsenal and Liverpool and all the big six. It didn't affect the big six, Sean. Our main rivals, it didn't affect.
Sure, I agree with that. But again, that to me is not necessarily a Daniel Levy. Obviously, Daniel Levy was wrong to put all of his eggs in that basket. But I think, again, that's why I say that always you should also zoom out a little bit when you want to criticize, and think, if the ownership, if the people that run the Premier League actually had the ability to make a coherent set of rules, then you wouldn't see Manchester City have the dominance that they had. You wouldn't have seen Chelsea have the dominance that they've had in the last 12, 15 years. And those things are not inside the control remits of Daniel Levy or ENIC. They are things that are outside of our control. Now, maybe Daniel Levy's, where he's at fault, was thinking that those rules had teeth. They didn't. Maybe I'm a mug for thinking that they had more teeth than they did. They didn't. I'll own it. But I also think that shouldn't be something where you criticize Tottenham. You should criticize the Premier League for not sorting it out, because the competition isn't fair. Like the dice are loaded, and it's a tilted dice.
But we can't control the Premier League. We can only control the decisions we make, and the decisions we made were wrong. Our internal decisions were wrong.
Sure.
We're not going to change the Premier League. We're never going to change the UEFA, FIFA, or the Premier League. We can only change Tottenham Hotspur. It's the only thing we've got control over.
I don't think we can change that either.
Absolute mess of it.
You saying that? You saying about the ownership, or you saying the fans? The ownership, you're saying, yeah.
The decisions that the owners make. The decisions the owners make.
So you would have been more in favour of Daniel Levy if he was selling his left arm to his right and loaning. You would have been more happy. Would you have actually supported Daniel Levy had he gone, fuck this, the rules don't mean anything, I'm going to start selling the training ground to a third-party company and all that stuff, or with all that stuff?
I would have been happy if he stuck with Conte, properly backed him, allowed Conte to lead the way, and not made these random weird signings like Danjumas and Longleys, who were never ever going to take us to the next level. They were never going to persuade Harry Kane.
I'm not asking that.
You're talking about the financial structure, yeah?
I'm saying, would you have had more respect for Daniel Levy had he started engaging in the associated party transactions, the selling of hotels, or whatever our equivalent are, like loaning things back, all that? Would you be okay with those things if we were doing it, or would you be sitting there saying, well, like, how can you criticize on the one hand and do the same things on the other?
I would have respected Daniel Levy if he did what Sir Alan Sugar did. And what Sir Alan Sugar did was, he said, I can't take you fans to where you want to be. I can't do it. I'm going to sell it to people that have got the money that can do it. And he sold it to ENIC. And for Levy to do the same and say, I can't take you to where you want to go, but I'm going to sell my shares and see if ENIC can sell their shares.
Yeah, but that's not the way it worked out, mate.
Can take you there.
That's not how.
No, but that's what I would have respected him for, because he can't do it. Levy couldn't do it.
But Alan Sugar didn't do that.
Capable.
Alan Sugar was furious. Alan Sugar was furious with my dad. Alan Sugar was furious with my dad because my dad was the guy that sold as a stockbroker, that facilitated the trade of Terry Venables' stake in Tottenham Hotspur onto the primary market. And Alan Sugar phoned up my dad's boss and was like, "Who the fuck is like? What's going on? I should have had first right of refusal." So Daniel, at the time, Alan Sugar never wanted to sell. Alan Sugar wanted to buy Terry Venables' stake. It's a fact. I know horse's mouth. I know that's for a fact.
I know fans that went to Sir Alan Sugar's house to confront him. Sir Alan Sugar came out with cups of teas and said, "Look, let's have a chat." And they respected Sir Alan Sugar for engaging conversation with them. And he said to them, "Look, I can't give you what you want. I can't do it. I don't have the money for this game."
Yeah, but you might be saying that under pressure. That's like he.
No. Wait, hold on, Sean. One second.
Fact.
And I'm telling you,
you're telling me what Alan Sugar said to people, but Alan Sugar was furious that Terry Venables.
Sean, both can be true. Sean, both can be true. Both can be true. He was furious with that, but he also told some diehard fans of our club, "I am going to sell the club to people that have got more money than I have, and they've got a better chance of giving you what you want." He said that to them.
Is it also possible that he's saying that because there's fucking a baying mob outside his house that are threatening to fucking smash his skull in or whatever? Like, what we doing?
But he did it. No, but he did what he said. He literally did what he said. He sold it to people that had much more money than he did. And they have taken us to a higher level, and they have taken us to a higher level than where Sugar had us.
Sure, but
they did it.
After his intended purchase of Terry Venables' stake was taken from him because Terry Venables sold it on the open market to JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs.
Like I said, both can be true. I'm not denying what you're saying is true. But back to Levy, I would be happy if Levy just acknowledged that he can't take this any further, and he's just going to sell it to people that can. Now we're in this quagmire where he owns 30% of a company that he's not involved in anymore. And the people that are now in charge, they weren't even passed the baton properly and shown the ropes, have come in and made it worse. And now we've got an internal background war between Levy and the Lewis family that is clearly impacting the running of this club.
I agree with that.
Just
100%.
sell it.
100% I agree.
Just fucking. So I'd respect him if he just sold out. Count the chips and go.
Okay, let me finish the rest of these super chats and then we'll get back into it because we've got half an hour left before we going over to Football Inc. With my boy Johnny H. A user says, pick up to you, ENIC. He says, "Fuck ENIC, the nearly club syndrome, always close, rarely over the line, like being served a Michelin star meal and told you can only smell it." Hey, user, aren't you? You're the guy that always says, "My chairman Daniel Levy." Are you like me? Like it's like Daniel Levy wasn't the bad guy that ENIC are? Because that's I think that's where I'm at. I think that's where you're at as well. Unless you've been joking the entire time you've been putting in your Daniel Levy like complimentary super chats for the last year. Appreciate you, user mate. Thank you very much. Roy Viking, big up to you. Says, "Stel, I'm one of those who called you toxic, and I've been hard on you as well. I apologize for that. I think you and Sean are two of the best in the Tottenham community." There you go. Stel, you want to accept his apology?
Yeah, I accept your apology. Can you please not revert back to that then? If things change next season and we're suddenly top 8 and we sign 1 or 2 good players and I'm still ENIC out, can you please remember this? That's all I ask.
See, that's the thing that's going to happen though, right? And I appreciate you, Roy, and I respect you, mate. But like I said, you know, I'm going to come to it, but like it's as it is currently temporarily. Most people have. What is the poll, by the way? The poll right now, 93%. There you go. There's 600 votes, more than 600 votes. 93% are 92% are in agreement that ENIC are to blame for Tottenham's situation.
Right. So Sean, let's do the numbers. 600 voted, 96 agree. So that's roughly 550 odd. 100 turn up to a protest. This is where, as a fan base, I have no idea where we're at. I just don't get it. I simply don't get it.
We'll talk about that in the next. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. But my point is that if Tottenham do manage to find a way to stay up, and then in the summer you suddenly have this guy Kel come in, whatever his name is from Dortmund, or you bring in a Dougie Freeman that everyone universally respects. You bring in a Pochettino that everyone universally respects. Even if ENIC stay there and they didn't spend the money, And then because we've stayed up, there's 200 million quid. Plus you're going to liquidate Romero if there's a buyer for him, and Van der Ven and whoever else. And then you can go again, but you have better decision makers, better talent ID. If we do go about a busy summer in a world where we stay up, and then next season we finish 10th, and then the season after that we finish 5th or 4th again, the last 2 years will be largely forgotten. And then you'll go back and I'll be saying, are ENIC still the problem? And I'll put the same poll out and it will be 50-50 or be 60-40 one way or the other, because people are looking at the situation currently. And that's where I've accused you, rightly or wrongly, that your take on wanting Stelagation is because it cements, not just in the short term, but in the indefinite term, that the ENIC out is no longer a theory, it's settled science. Before I get you to respond to that,
you've got Spurs journalists throwing fruit and saying they want to throw fruit and vegetables at ENIC. I don't need validation.
No, today they do. Today they do.
Yeah.
Like I say, in this, if we
stay, and Sean, and if they flip flop, that's on them. I don't need their validation. I validated 6 years ago. I haven't moved against the abuse and the hate and the toxicity. Like that last guy.
Like the last guy. 6 years ago, you were called toxic 6 years ago. You were called toxic 4 years ago.
I was validated by myself. I don't need external validation. I self-validated, right? Comments like that, the guy that said sorry for what I said, Stel, whatnot. You think I changed my ways because those guys existed?
I respect the fact that you stay true to yourself.
So I don't need validation, Sean. That's what I'm saying. I don't need validation.
In a world where Tottenham rebuild very quickly, it's a long stretch, but in a world where we stay up and we continue, and then we put in some better decision makers that everyone knows. I don't know who fucking Adolf Hutter is. I don't know who Sebastian Kiel is, but I do know who whatever. I do know who Dougie Freedman is, and I do know that Pochettino will win the fans over, and I do know that there should be some money around, and I do know that last season's revenue will be coming through now, and it will be like the following season's revenue from this year will be shit, but last season will be okay. Whatever, all that stuff. Then Tottenham suddenly go and buy a few players, and it all suddenly works out again. In 2 years' time, they'll be back to 25 people in the ENIC out protest, right? So.
That's not my fault. That's fans who they're easily pleased.
But you can understand why when you said like, "Oh, Sean, you are facilitating this hatred against me," when I like that offended me, and I said to you afterwards. And I know you said like,
we spoke about that. We spoke.
No, I'm not going to bring it. I'm not, of course, 100%. But I'm just saying, like, you must be able to appreciate that. Like, I'm not trying to influence anybody. I'm certainly not trying to encourage or egg on anyone to do anything. I think the people in the chat have their own level of intelligence. If you are a Tottenham fan and saying, I believe that relegation is the best thing, whether it's because of the motivations that I think you have,
I don't believe it's the best thing. I don't believe it's the best thing. I believe that the fans standing up and holding this bloody ownership to account is the best thing. But clearly, the fans aren't interested in that. And they're not interested in challenging one another on that or questioning people on that. So because the fan base has decided we don't want to do that, that's why I've said relegation is the best thing. It's the second best thing. The first best thing is we fight for the soul of the club, but we're not interested.
Right, but you're am I right or wrong in thinking that ENIC out means more to you than temporary status in the Premier League? It means temporary, whether we're 10th, whether we're 8th, whether we're 4th, whatever. We won the Europa League. It didn't change your mind, right? You still
winning trophies. No, hold on, Sean. Hold on. No, this is where you're wrong.
Did you pause your ENIC out when we won the Europa League?
When winning trophies is the most important thing to me as a Spurs fan, right? When we won that trophy, I said, guys, keep hand. Yeah, and you saw the pelters I got for that, for then going back to Anjin, right?
No, but you never mentioned ENIC.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to see, is this now the beginning of a proper project? He came in, we got 5th. We had a shit season in the league, but we won a trophy and we're back in the Champions League. Are we now going to back the beginning of a project where the nucleus of the team is actually on board with Ange? They've actually got something going on here. Are we now going to build on this? When we sacked him, and then whatever happened afterwards, I'm like, fuck it. And look what's happened. Had they have backed Ange and given him a shot,
you don't know. You don't know.
I would have really considered leaning towards. Do you know what? I might have to now start saying, whoa, give this board a chance. Because Levy did something that year he's never done before, Sean. Never.
Yeah, see, the cynic in me, though.
They
the
stuck.
cynic.
They stuck.
I know you say that now. I know you say that now.
But I said it at the time, Sean.
No, you weren't saying it at the time. You weren't saying it at the time. You only said it after the trophy was won.
Right? No, because you don't watch We Are Tottenham TV. No, because you don't watch We Are Tottenham TV.
I watched it. I watched your takes on it back then. Because I was on the show before you and after you at the time.
Sean, do you want the video? I was on We Are Tottenham TV and I said, guys, if anyhow we win the Europa Cup, we're going to have to stick with Ange.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, I said, but I don't think he will win it. But then I also said, and then it was Simeon said to me, so does that mean you're Levy in? And I said, I won't be Levy in, but if we build off the back of it, I have to give the board credit if they go down that road and it works. I have to. But we didn't.
The cynic in me feels like the contrarian. I'm the contrarian, like I think you are, but I think we are contrarian.
Sean, I'm open-minded, bro. I'm open-minded, right?
I think you knew that the club were going to sack Ange Postecoglou anyway.
No, I didn't. I thought they were going to keep him because at the parade, I was at the parade. Were you at the parade, by the way, or not? I don't know if you were.
No, I wasn't. No, I was coming back. I was still in Bilbao.
Right. At the parade, when Ange said season 3 is better than season 2, the roar in the crowd, I looked around for, fucking hell, he's got him by the short and curly whirlies. They're going to have to stick with him. There's no way they're going to sack him.
But you know what the interesting thing is, though, is that like, so
I was surprised. I was actually surprised the board sacked him. I'm not, and I mean that.
But there's a hell of a lot of ENIC out people who said, I'm actually like you went the other way with it, where you were like, fair play to Daniel Levy for sticking with him when he typical Levy would have stacked.
Levy deserves credit for sticking with Ange. Right. He does.
But there's a hell of a lot of ENIC out people that said, I'm proud of Daniel Levy for sticking with him and then getting the trophy and then having the stones to sack him after the fact. Big up to Daniel Levy. Right. So there were other people that feel the same way that you feel, that saw it in a different light.
Yeah.
And then
they're allowed that opinion. I disagree with that.
Sure. Right. But like I say, for me,
if you're ENIC out, it doesn't mean we all agree on everything to do with the football club. It just means we agree that the owners are the problem and we've got to get rid of them. Right. But for example, there's people at ENIC out that thought Brennan Johnson was he's a good player. I always thought he was a crap football player, but he worked in an Ange system to pop up with goals. So we're going to have different opinions on the football. Look, I don't think Ange was an amazing manager. I don't think he's a great coach, but I know the power of unity. I've seen it in football when I coached. He had them. And I think if you're going to wreck that, if you're going to blow that up, you've got to bring in a Jurgen Klopp that really excites the camp. Someone that just, whoa, Jurgen, fuck me.
Yeah, I agree. Thomas Frank never lit any candles under my arsehole. Yeah, I agree.
Thomas Frank was a big risk off the back of Ange, and that was the point I made. But anyway,
I agree. I'd put Thomas Frank signing in the con column on ENIC and Daniel Levy 100%. And then let's get back to, because we've got 20 minutes left. Let me. There's still some super chats. I do want to ask you some final thoughts because we'll have to have a part 2, mate. Because I've really enjoyed the chat. Big up to Sava. Big up to Sava Dog. How you doing, mate? He says Football Heritage TV. As we sit here today from top to bottom at Tottenham Hotspur, can you tell me 3 things that ENIC have done well that doesn't involve buildings and finance? Kane and Son papered over everything. Yeah, but Sonny was a signing that Tottenham made, right? So you can make the argument that Kane, he landed on our lap or whatever you want to say about him. But I mean, if you want to tell me 3 things that ENIC have done well, one of them wasn't listening or didn't sell Kane before he did, because there was lots of chances to sell him and we didn't cash in at the time. And Sonny was a signing that we actually bought in. So again, like, he wasn't someone that just kind of like organically generated in Tottenham Hotspur as a clone. Like he came into Tottenham Hotspur. There's tons of things that ENIC have done well that isn't involving in building and finance. You know,
like what?
There's tons of things.
He's asking.
We hired managers that got us to, like, Tottenham Hotspur only ever won the Premier League once, or not even the Premier League, only ever won the league once in 1961. Under ENIC, we've had our second, third, and fourth highest finishes.
We won the league twice. We won it
51 and 61, whatever it was, right? But I'm talking about in the last 60 years, our highest league positions ever, which is the best barometer of where you are as a football club, has happened under Daniel Levy's tenure, right? We got to We got to.
Yeah, but we stopped winning trophies, though, Sean. We stopped winning trophies.
But fine. But the trophies that we used to win were cups, right? Which are built via variance, the luck of who you get when you get them, injuries at the time, bad refereeing decisions, good refereeing decisions, luck, fortune, or 100%. In the Premier League, you have to play everybody twice, home and away.
Arsenal. No, Arsenal.
Let's not get off the topic. In the
but
Premier
what you're saying
League,
is not true, though. What you're saying is not true.
It is, because it's just it's a fact. Hang on a second. It's a fact that in the cups, you're not going to play everybody. So who you play, when you play them, where you play them, refereeing decisions at the time, injuries that happen to coincide with the timing of when you play those teams are all going to be factors that affect your ability to get through. Arsenal are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup almost. They haven't played a Premier League team yet. Right, so cup variance is a thing. To win the Premier League, you have to outperform every other 19 football clubs, and you have to do that playing everybody home and away. So Sean, variance goes out of the window to some degree.
I disagree with that as the reason why. Arsenal have lost more League Cup finals than any other club. Arsenal have lost more finals than Tottenham have ever lost, but they've won more trophies in finals. How is that? Because the key factor is this. Hold on. It's not because they're big. Yeah, they're a bigger club because they've won more trophies. The difference is this. If you look at the number of cup finals Spurs actually get to in the last 25 years, like how many chances have we actually had at winning a trophy? So let's look at the number of finals. We are the least compared to all the other big six. They get in more finals. So
why are we considered a big six? Why are we considered a big six?
Wait, hold on. It's okay if they lose some finals because they win the others. We rarely get to finals to win them. So because of that, we don't win as much. If we were getting to finals on a regular basis, Sean, that's what I would look at.
If we are considered a big six, if we're considered a big six club, is that because of ENIC?
It depends. It depends how you measure big six. Is it financial? Then yes.
You just compared us to the other big six clubs, and as I've always said, 3 of those other 5 teams have always been more successful than Tottenham. Hang on. They've always been more successful than Tottenham, and the other 2 teams, Manchester City and Chelsea, took advantage of a lackluster in laws or the enforcement of the laws after the fact to be able to essentially cheat their way to so much success. Okay, so those 2 clubs that were never as successful as Tottenham before emerged, exploded, and they took advantage of us.
Forget them. Let's use Arsenal.
You can't forget them. You can't forget them because how many of the finals have we got were against Chelsea or against Manchester City?
But I want to look at Arsenal, who's the 3rd biggest club, right? Let's look at Arsenal, who's the 3rd biggest club in the Big Six. In 1992, before the Premier League began, Arsenal had only won 5 more trophies than Tottenham. Spurs had won more FA Cups, more League Cups, more European trophies. Arsenal had won more league titles.
Exactly.
Sean, one second. Let me finish my point. Arsenal had won more league titles than Tottenham, but cups, we were ahead of Arsenal. Now, from 1992 to now, which was 18% Swan and Sugar, the other 82% ENIC, the gap between Arsenal and Tottenham has exploded. So what happened under ENIC for that to happen? Because Arsenal aren't state-owned oil money. What happened
they took advantage of incredible financial situations with regards low to zero interest rates. What are you talking about?
Arsenal had to sell all their Arsenal sold all their top players in 12 years after building that stadium, right?
100%. It took them 8 years to win their first trophy. It took us 5.
Took us 17. It's been 17 years since we won the Europa Cup to the last
after moving into the stadium, which was the financial.
But they won shitloads of trophies. Sean, the point is this: the gap between Tottenham and Arsenal has grown when ENIC came in.
Of course, it has.
And for me, the biggest difference is they kept being a football club. We lost our ways a bit, almost found it, and now we've become just this corporate.
I don't disagree with the corporate greed. I don't disagree with any of those things. But
so that goes back to what Savas says about finance. That's what Savas saying in the comment.
No, Savas saying, tell me what ENIC have done well that doesn't involve buildings and finance, right?
Yeah,
and I'm saying everything that's been good about Tottenham Hotspur. If we're doing the whole ENIC of the fucking, it all comes back to ENIC. They're the buck stops at the top. And there's plenty of good things about Tottenham that have happened since ENIC that didn't happen regularly before ENIC.
Like,
and then not necessarily because it does translate onto the football pitch, but you're comparing us to a big. Hang on, let me answer. But you are comparing us to the big five, of which two of those teams took advantage of the finance situation that Sav is saying. Remove those things because it doesn't suit the narrative. It doesn't suit his argument. So remove finance out of the equation. Right. It's like saying, tell me what's great about. Sean. Okay, fine, but it's like saying, tell me what's great about Mike Tyson if you remove his right hand and his left hand. I don't know. What is he, a grapist? Like, it's not a great thing. Like, what are we doing here? If you remove the areas of which translate into on the field things, because it doesn't suit the narrative that ENIC are great or ENIC are shit. Let's remove the things that they're good at. Buildings is fine, whatever. But finance does translate to what you can do on the pitch. And Tottenham Hotspur under ENIC have had a higher propensity of outperforming in the Premier League, which is the best barometer of where you are as a football club relative to everybody else. Because in the cups, who you get, when you get them, luck, draw, refereeing decisions, VAR before and after it was invented, all of those things become more impactful in things where you're in a knockout.
Sure, we lost to Colchester United in the cup, mate.
Sure, I know. So you're doing what you're pointing to the things that are against it. I'm just saying that in the Premier League.
How does that?
I know you're going to point. I know you're going to point to the things where we lost to Norwich and lost to Colchester.
Yeah, but you're pointing to the things that.
I'm answering his question. In order to me to answer the question, I have to point to the positives to answer his question. Right? Tottenham Hotspur also lost in a final to Manchester United on penalties. Is that ENIC's fault that we didn't get an extra trophy? Or was that the fact that we couldn't save a penalty against Manchester United that finished 0-0?
We also sacked Mourinho before a cup final. Whose fault is that?
100%. And I agree with you on that. That's a shit show from Daniel Levy. 100%. Anyway, listen, Stel, we've got 10 minutes left and I've got like loads of more super chats. Let me just, let's part this one. Big up to you, Sav. I appreciate the super chat, mate. Thank you very much, mate. Very generous. He's come back in with the second one. Part 2, academy, scouting, succession planning, structure, ethos, philosophy, 25 years, and they've implemented none of it. It's disgraceful.
It's true.
But I mean, our academy is, I mean, it's promised to be good. But as I say, I think you're waiting for a fucking unicorn for our academy. But still, you complain about the fact that our team don't. You complain about the fact that our managers don't utilize our academy, right? I hear you say that all the time. I'm someone that sits there and looks at the academy and goes, I'm waiting, we're waiting forever. Like, when are one of these kids going to emerge? Like Max Dowden, if you're good enough, you're old enough. Is Mikey Moore good enough? Are any of these kids? Is Luca Williams-Barnett good enough? Are any of these guys? Are they good enough still? I don't know.
We don't keep managers at the club long enough and give them the time needed to build it and to bring through one or two players to be part of it. We simply don't do it. If you look at the last time we had a young player explode, it was Harry Kane. It's no coincidence the manager was there for 5 years. There's no coincidence. If you keep chopping and changing managers, they come in under pressure, keep the team up, get top 4. They haven't got the time to bring through these youngsters. Max Dowman's flying at Arsenal. Why? It's a freaking healthy football club right now to be bringing through youngsters.
Yeah, it's a great environment. It's a great environment, 100%. The environment in which kids, 100% agree with that. You know, I don't know, if Mikey Moore had grown up in the Arsenal academy, would Mikey Moore be playing for Arsenal right now? Who knows? You don't know, do you? You don't know.
Well,
he might be.
The question is, and this is where the academy actually argue. They argue with the club about this, and the academy always lose the argument because the club always overrule them. What is the point of spending 40, 30 million pounds on Odebert and not giving Mikey Moore all of those minutes instead? Why not let Mikey Moore have those 2 years and then decide, which is a much cheaper option, especially when Odebert is part of the team that is in a relegation battle? That's the big argument. That's the big argument.
For me, Odebert is like, I don't know why Odebert. I always get this hate for because I think Tell and Odebert get packed.
I'm not hating Odebert. I'm just giving you an example. Why buy
I hear you, but I just think for me, Odebert personally, he hasn't really been a part of our squad, right? When he first joined, he was out for 10 months.
He's been injured a lot. Yeah,
and then he comes back in for a little bit, and then he gets another fucking ACL. So, you know, I've got no idea about it. I think he's got potential and talent, but you know, he's another injury.
Sure, okay, I'll give you a better example. Why spend, was it 10 million on Sousa? How much did we spend on that Sousa kid from Brazil?
Yeah, about that, whatever. Yeah.
Why not bring through an academy player instead? If Sousa's going to be what he is, which is a bit part player at best.
I've never heard Tottenham have any fullbacks that are academy talents. I've heard we've got loads of strikers, loads of forwards, loads of loads of centre midfields, loads of centre backs, but I don't know of any left or right backs that are talented academy kids.
In hindsight, it would have been smart maybe just to keep KWP at the club.
Yep. Yeah,
that's the argument.
Listen,
the academy
I also I think it was fucking idiotic in the summer. Again, I will criticize, but I don't know whether you criticize ENIC for this or do you criticize Johan Lang. But we loaned out every fucking talented kid that we had. We loaned them all out. Yeah, and I think that's idiotic. But again, do you want to just make everything about the ownership, or do people that sit below the ownership have any accountability at all for their decision making?
They get overridden. We know now that they get overridden. They wanted to keep Frank. So maybe, Sean, listen, I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Maybe, given what's happened now, keeping Frank was the right decision. Maybe. Yeah,
but I think if there's 92% or whatever it's of people that think ENIC are the problem, I bet you at the time, I probably did it, is should Thomas Frank go after whatever game it was, 95% would have been he's got to go. So we're all Monday morning quarterbacking with the benefit of hindsight that because it hasn't worked out. Same with the parade thing, because it didn't turn into a victory. Everyone's saying it was a failed experiment.
Sean, but hold on. No. You said it. I said it. Fans said it. But the people that are in charge, Lange and Vinay, didn't say that. And they were overruled. That's the difference. Doesn't matter what we think. They're the ones that call the shots. And they were told, no, you're not calling the shots anymore. So what's the point of them?
Yeah, I hear you, mate. I hear you. Let me just say it for 1 second. Let me get back to the super chats, and we've got to tell Johnny. I'm going to redirect everyone over.
Sean, if you want, do your super chats, and you can wrap up the show because you're going to be late.
That's all right. I mean, extra mins. Just letting you know, guys. We're gonna go over to Football Inc. As soon as we're done here with the super chats. And Stel, I really enjoyed the chat, mate. We should do this more often, bro. Do another one. And like I say, everyone, please make sure you get onto Stel's channel. We'll do the next one on Mr. Stelios. Okay. Big up to Ian JD. The amount of damage ENIC have done to the footballing credibility of this club means that they are no longer in a position to repair the damage done. Yeah, listen. Look, I think we'd all like to see new ownership. The one thing I didn't get a chance to ask Stel about was what does the new owners look like? Because new doesn't mean better. Different doesn't mean excellent. And whether it's Stavely or Wing-Fi or my man Brooklyn Eric, no guarantee any of those people are going to make better decisions just because they're different people making the decisions. But we'll have to chew that over on the next show with Stel. We'll do that. We'll do that on your show, Stel, whenever you fancy, mate. Big up to you, Ian. Appreciate you, mate. Craig Fenner says bigger channels don't want to lose viewers. No, listen. I mean, I don't know. I think in terms of views, I think the order in terms of YouTube channels, I think the order is Chris Cowlin, miles in front. A lot of his views though are more around like game footage and things rather than necessarily opinion pieces or like it's news rather than opinion. So maybe there's a credit there, but I mean, we are Tottenham TV certainly have their takes on the ownership. I know Ben's got a massive issue with the ownership, so I don't think they're scared of having their say. And then after that, you've got Henry Wrights really emerging very quickly with his new version. He's happy to go after the bigger chat.
He doesn't protest. He doesn't protest.
He doesn't go to games. Yeah, sure. And then you got Sava, who's very happy to go after it. I go after it. And I'm trying to think who other the bigger YouTube channels are.
Sava like me can't get in front of the people to properly challenge them and to ask the questions. They don't want it. They like I said, it goes back to the fear thing.
I mean, but again, I just think if you just say your piece, if you give credit for people having influence over other people's opinions, then just saying your piece is going to influence them. If you don't give the credit for that sort of thing, like if you think that Martin Lipton has influence over people, right, then you at least give credit to the idea of people with access to views having influence. Do you think that your performance on this show today is influencing the 10,000 people that are going to see this?
No, but what it will do, it will be clipped and it will be talked about in many WhatsApp groups. Stel's talking about Stel's saying we don't do this, Stel's saying we don't do that, because this is what happened 3-4 years ago to get these people to the point of where they started saying, right, we better start talking about ENIC, we better start pointing the finger. I just feel sure.
I don't think you can't say that Martin Lipton has influence when he speaks, but you don't have influence when you speak. If you're reaching an audience of people, Tottenham fans.
Martin Lipton is a high-profile media journalist. He's like Michael Bridge. Michael Bridge. No one challenges him. No one questions him. He doesn't talk about these things. Michael Bridge is the guy that asks questions. He doesn't give his own opinion. Yeah, but he's a Spurs fan.
Yeah, but he's not. But he's not listened to for his opinion. He's listened to for who he asks.
He goes on Last Word to talk about Tottenham as a Spurs fan.
So yeah, so his opinion is then out there, right? Like Martin Lipton's opinion is out there.
Yeah, but no one challenges. Why do you not protest? Why do you not boycott? Why do you think fans don't do it? How about just ask that question? Don't even make it about them. Why not ask the question? Why do you think fans who are so angry with the ownership don't want to do something about the ownership? What's your thinking behind that? That question doesn't get asked, Sean. Just that question. That's a pretty mild question to ask. It's not a heavy question to ask somebody. What's your thoughts on somebody else? What do you think is going on there? They don't ask it, Sean. Talk Sport. You got 4 Talk Sport pundits, Spurs fans: Majestic, Abby Summers, Ben Bowman, Sonny Talks Spurs. They never have these conversations. It's almost like it's forbidden. It's not allowed.
Listen, I don't know, mate. Like, I mean, I look at the Talk Sport Spurs channel. Those videos have just as many or just as few videos as people like Saba's, people like mine. Yours will have, your new channel will get there very quickly, right? Because your old channel used to get the same views. I don't think that the Talk Sport Spurs channel has the massive reach that's any bigger or different to some of the other channels that are out there. And these conversations are had.
Jamie O'Hara. Go look at the view. Go look at the view Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy get. Right. Yeah. Go look at their viewing numbers, mate. O'Hara's the same. He's exactly the same. They're all the same.
Well, he says that the ownership is shit.
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything about it, and he doesn't ask the question why fans don't do anything about it. All he does is he palms it off.
Because the remit of the show, mate. The remit of his show is to sit there with his mate wearing clown fucking fake Ange Postecoglou masks, have a bit of a giggle, and then people phone in and say, "Jamie, you're a fucking donut," and he's like, "Fuck you, fuck you." That's the show. That's the show, though. Yeah, exactly. Is anybody? Oh, that's the style of their show, mate. That's the remit of what they're employees. That's what they're given.
They accept calls, but they accept calls from Spurs fans. And when you get the odd Spurs fan that says about the taking action in the board, O'Hara just palms it off. He's like, no, change the conversation.
I don't think he does. Why don't you phone into TalkSport?
I have. They said no.
Why?
Because they ask you what you're going to ask, and when I tell them, they say no.
Well, just tell them you're going to ask them something else, and then tell them.
Then they're going to cut me off, though. Then they're going to cut me off.
Well, that's a fantastic clip, isn't it? Then you've got evidence of what you're saying is true.
Okay, maybe I'll do that then.
Do that.
I'll go on and make myself look like a plonker and say, look, they cut me off.
You won't make yourself look like a plonker. Just say, I want to talk about today's game. And then talk about today's game for 10 seconds, and then say, Jamie, I want to ask you, mate, what do you think of the ownership, and why don't you support protests?
I find it astonishing that Sky Sports have cut off all conversation about that, but yet Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, they're allowed to talk about it. Because as fans, we're not allowed to go on there and talk about it, but yet Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville, they're allowed to talk about it. I find that a bit astonishing, actually, that the fans don't have the voice, but I think you give a little bit too much credit to traditional media, mate. I think the vast majority of fans are more inclined, especially young people, are more inclined to dial into fan-based content like this, which is one of the reasons why Sky Sports are now having more and more of these fans on. The whole what's his name, Michael McIntyre's son's thing that was a bit of a flop of a product. Yeah, but Sean, when I
Sky Sports, right?
But when I talk to my friends who aren't Tottenham, they don't know us, but they know the other guys because they're also shown on Sky Sports and Talk Sports platforms that the other football clubs watch as well. So that if you get traction on there, there's a high chance you're going to get more a bit more influence.
I don't know.
I believe. I think you get more.
Let me get through these last super chats, mate. We've got a round off, mate. But listen, I want to have a part 2 on this because there's so much I wanted to ask you that I didn't get the chance to today. Maybe we can continue on Thursday night. But like I say, we'll do the next show on Mr. Stelios. Big up to the Woking Bears Cave, my man. Are the fans who want to protest also members of unions or support union strikes? A lot of the population voice their anger at such actions. Look, unions are part of like obviously unions are generally for public companies, so not quite the same. But in terms of, I don't know. I mean, how many people are public employees these days that have unions? It's ever since Margaret Thatcher, mate. The unions are generally a thing of the past unless you work for the trains or the buses or whatever. Big up to you, mate. Big up to you, my man. I've got to get through this because I'm late for the next show. Craig Fenner, big up to you, Craig. Appreciate you. He says, still have a pint on me. Love your passion. I'll if that's come through mine, I'll send that over to you. Still, don't worry about that, mate. Okay.
You can have it, Sean, as your birthday present. There you go.
I appreciate you, mate. Thanks very much. No, I'll sort you out, mate. I'll sort you out, bro. Appreciate you, Craig. Thanks very much, mate. Hayes saying, agree with you both about long-term transfer errors. Yeah, there's been a load. The transfer policy has been absolutely terrible. Big up to you, Hayes. Thank you very much. Sean Hurl, big up to you, mate. Very, very generous, bro. Super generous. Thank you so much. He says, the whole issue of protest has been undermined by its lack of success, be it stopping the Iraq war or removing Ashley at Newcastle. ENIC are our issue, but unless we've got £4 billion down the back of our sofas, they're here to stay. Well, look, I mean, I don't want to say, Sean. I mean, look, the club outright rejected any interest in any of those players. Any of those deals from Staveley, from Wingfi, and from Brooklyn Eric in the summer. They rejected 3 different expressions of interest. There's been no coming back to the table. And Daniel Levy a couple of years ago said, we're trying to expand the equity base. Like, square that circle. Square that circle. People coming in with an interest to expand the equity base, all of a sudden they don't want it. They've also discontinued their involvement with Rothschild Bank. So I don't know. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, or at least the narrative has changed something. But listen, for me, I don't know. I don't personally think that protests are going to make the change that Stel does, but I understand why Stel says at least you've got to give it a go and see what happens. Personally,
Sean, can I just say, there's many forms of protest. There's demonstration, there's boycotts, there's walkouts, there's disrupting events that happen in the stadium. There's many ways we can protest. So it's not just standing on the high street chanting, "We want ENIC out." There's a few things we can do. We don't do any of it though now. Now we do nothing. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it certainly is what it is. And the last 1 second. The last super chat there. I appreciate everyone. You've been super generous today. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Craig Fenner says, Levy said himself he got lucky with Poch. Yeah. I mean,
you didn't say that.
As someone that's defended Daniel Levy, I would really hope in the future people that I defend don't allocate fortune when things have gone their way. I think that if misfortune and fortune can be applied evenly, or it shouldn't be applied at all. And that pissed me off, Craig, if I'm entirely honest. I appreciate you, mate. I appreciate you. Thank you very much indeed. Stel, listen, mate, I've really enjoyed the chat, mate. Great debate. And like I say, we could have kept going for another 2 hours because there's loads more we haven't got into around what the future you would like to see looks like. But we'll do that again. Mate, let me get the private chat going again. Guys, there's 900 people here watching. The one thing I'll ask of you, apart from to smash like and subscribe, is to hit this link right now. Stel, how many subscribers are you on right now?
About 1,200, something like that.
All right, guys, everyone, just please hit that link. Right, there's a link right there, and if you see this after the fact, it's in the title. Just smash the subscribe to Stelios. He's going to get himself up to 10K very, very quickly. I know he's just had to start again. Is it your third channel? Your third restart, John Stel?
I've lost count. But...
It must be painful to constantly restart.
I've got no idea. I have no idea anymore. New channel every year.
New channel every year. Yeah. Listen, mate. Well done, mate. Well done. I think there's a great debate. I'm sure people are going to give their comments in the chat afterwards, saying Stel smashed me or whatever else. That's absolutely fine. We're going to leave it there, guys. We're going to leave it there. Appreciate everyone for being cool in the chat. I haven't actually been looking at the chat too much. I apologise. I hope everyone was all cool with that. Stel, well done, mate. Listen, we're gonna leave it there, guys. I'm gonna pivot over right now to Football Inc. Johnny's waiting in the background, saying, "Shawnee, where are you? We're 7 minutes late. We're starting over there right now." Stel, appreciate you, mate. I'll
Cool,
see you
mate. Nice
tomorrow
one.
night on Spurs 5. Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, guys. See you later. Take care. Bye.